On the Democratic ticket, we need to redefine uh, what our goals are as far as uh, making America stronger and more defined. And I think that we have to start at the beginning of the American journey. And what I mean is, we have to get back to trying to teach our kids before they get to school certain things as parents. I think that it's important to teach our kids to speak properly. I think it's important to teach our kids to be respectful. And I think it's important to teach our kids that their opinion matters. Those are three things that we can put in their little toolbox before we send them off on the bus that first day of school with butterflies in our stomach. Once we do that, I think that we have to let go a little bit and allow for the individual to blossom that they'll become as others enter their lives and they take away little lessons from each person that they meet. I think it's important where we live and the schools that we attend. And I know that a lot of times we can't afford to go to the charter schools or some of the private schools or some of the suburban schools. But what we can do is we can communicate with faculty and we can hold teachers and faculty accountable when it comes to maintaining our three pillars of who our children are becoming by communicating clearly, by allowing us to hear their opinion and to be respectful and mannered as they do it. It will cause for less confusion throughout the day for the person that's trying to teach our children and many others at the same time. And that's about all we can do from home before that they enter organized school. In the summertime, I think that there are some things that need to change. And I know that it's going to be difficult in the different demographics. For instance, in the inner city, you may have to take a bus with your child to the public library and teach them how to walk in, teach them how to get a card, teach them how to get a book, and teach them how to get on the computer so that they can do some summer projects instead of sit around and let the television and these large marketing campaigns teach them what they need to do, which is usually something that's based on profitability for these businesses who are pushing their agendas into our homes. Our children will thrive in school if they are consistently learning and consistently developing ideas. And they're not going to do that unless that we hold them accountable. So one of the most important things that we can do as a family for our child is to have supper at the dinner table and have those everlasting discussions about their days, about their ideas, and about their achievements, and focus a lot less on the shortcomings. Shortcomings should always be a short conversation. We know you did this wrong, and you know you did it wrong, and this is what you're going to do to correct it. It's not a punishment. It's an extra responsibility to right the wrong you committed, instead of making them feel guilt and shame, which never is good for a person. What it does is it festers inside them and it distracts them from focusing on the positive traits that they have. It also ends up causing others to focus on their reactions to a negative issue that they may incur. And some kids are bullies and take advantage of that. In the summer projects, I think it's a great thing to get out in the Miami Valley and to explore and discover some of the great free events and free uh, museums and enjoy the outdoors as well as the history here in Dayton, Ohio. To do that, you'll have to get online and find a suitable venue for what you're wanting to achieve on your child's weekly road trips, if you will. Teaching them that it's okay to get out here and to do some stuff and get out of the house. And it's even better if it's enjoyed as a family. When we get back from summer to school, I think it would be important for the teachers to hold the children accountable by making them keep a diary and sharing it with the class and with the faculty on all the achievements and all the great stories that they had from the summer, which will inspire them uh, to do the things that they're hearing about the other kids doing that they enjoy so much. And you'll have sort of a hodgepodge of projects that will be created to do on the weekends as well as the summertime. Our children's education has to come first in the United States of America. And we have to be fluid and change with the education in the world. And a lot of other countries, they're participating in organized education 7 days a week and year round. And I think that in America, we're getting stuck on the 3 months off and the weekends off and not taking advantage of some of the better times to get out here and to further our development as far as understanding what our country is all about. You can always take a child out to museums and such, but it's also a wonderful time for children if you take them and show them some of the special nuances, like at the Veterans Association, the way that they have different things there to celebrate soldiers. They have a wonderful historical section in the Veterans Association with some artifacts from long ago that are very interesting and very moving for a citizen of the United States to see some of the important aspects of the Veterans Association and some of the old medical tools that were used on the war fields. You can really get polarized by learning about how far we've come in advancements and how important it is to have a community center like the Veterans Association. As far as government goes, we have to support this endeavor that the Democratic Party is on when it comes to recognizing citizenship and trying to motivate young Americans to get out and to participate more and to be better citizens by extending a helping hand in the community and trying to teach others through their mannerisms, through the amount of respect that they have for elders, and through the way that they communicate confidently about issues that they're having, no matter what their age are, and rewarding them for participating in the resolution of issues and the expansion of some of the great ideas and some of the great programs that will develop from these young minds who sometimes can think a little quicker and think a little broader than some of our elderly. As far as the education program goes and supporting it, I think that we have some critical aspects to that we have touched on in my program, the U.S. for Hope. Uh, Becoming part of an information supply for our community can happen at places like festivals, at places like football, basketball, baseball, soccer games, and plays at the school and throughout the community. Having church members out there to give out information about how to achieve health care, how to achieve child care, how to attain food, uh, the phone numbers for family services, transportation, work requests, and some of the programs that we have in our counties to assist the struggling Americans as they try to get their footing back in society and participate in what is the most important aspect of community, which is funding. Uh, I've talked about crowdfunding. I've talked about the benefits of moving into more of a credit or EFT transfer uh, environment for things like donations, especially when it comes to some of the larger donations and some of the larger events like church. I think it provides us with the ability to create spreadsheets, to do a better job accounting and printing the information so that it's available and there's no questions as to our motives out here in the community. As we do that, we're going to learn that the EFT transfer and the electronic banking systems will do some amazing things on their own, like hold people accountable for taxes and hold people accountable for paying their fair share. And to have that posted at schools for fundraisers, having it posted at churches for the tithes, and having it posted at businesses who participate in raising money for some of our programs out there can alleviate some of the mistrust all on its own and turn around and benefit us by building trust and better understanding in what they're trying to achieve with these programs. Also, when we look at it, it's going to tell us whether or not some of these businesses are paying their workers fairly, if they're carrying insurance and workman's compensation, and if their wages are in line with the rest of the people in their particular work environment. It's going to eliminate the cash-only jobs. It'll eliminate the cash payrolls that are crippling our economy by not allowing for the government to take the fair share out there to maintain our roads, to maintain our government, and to help assist our struggling families out there with a tax base that is going to be transparent once we get away from this cash economy that is, like I said, crippling the United States of America. As far as moving into another step towards a better America, I think that we have to address the medical field and some of the issues out there that are from funding not being there, the monies not getting where they need to go. If you look at a lot of things, and I won't say any in particular, we've all heard the horror stories, but the administrative fees that are involved from the fundraising efforts just to get the money to the proper channels so that it can be invested in some of the research for medicines and some of the equipment needed to help with some of our disabilities is ridiculous. And like I said, when we move to a credit donation and a bank handling the movement of the money. You'll find out that a lot of those administrative fees will fall off and they'll end up just being on the banks, who we can hold accountable if we feel like they're taking advantage of some great uh, program out there like ALS.org or RedCross.org, and we will be able to hold them to the same standards that we would want our churches to be held to, which is to participate in the betterment of mankind and womankind here in the United States as efficiently and cost effective as we can. We need to also take a look at expanding the NAFTA Act that was introduced by Bill Clinton as well as several other senators and congressmen to deter the influx of illegal immigration and seeking a better life in the United States. We need to try to involve more education and more accountability by the United Nations. And I know that sounds a little over the top, but that's the direction of the world, is to allow the United Nations to come in as a collective and to assess situations and to try to figure out not what's best for America, but what's best for North American continent and in turn the rest of the world. We have to address these things like the inability for families to achieve medical care or healthy sanitation in Mexico. These are situations that can be resolved by building a stronger pesos, by paying attention to some of the business aspects inside of Mexico City and trying to get people to disperse from that just mammoth pocket of people in need and try to get them spread out so that we can address situations more geographically and kind of build its own commerce there around the outlands of Mexico City by focusing on building communities and starting to really mimic, if you will, the early 1900s, early 2000s in our country by working on transportation, working on sanitation, and working on the infrastructure and trying to build communities which will cause their economy to thrive and also help alleviate all the stress that the Mexican government feels in Mexico City. As we do that, I think it's important for oil companies. I think it's important for soccer and football, which have already started, and baseball, who has a heavy Latino population and fan base, to give back to the community in these community centers or these welcome centers and missions that I have talked about being built in the 1,600 miles between the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico, through the Rio Grande area on into Arizona and California, and expanding some of our education to focus more on bridging the gap between Mexico and the United States, and not only teaching trades and teaching how to build bridges of hope between two countries, but also allowing them to teach us more about their struggle and how their struggles can apply to solutions here in the United States and vice versa. We need to really allow others into the United States if they're taking the right channels to broaden our ingredients and to allow for our continent to benefit from all the different aspects that we have here in this country, and hopefully diminish some of these borders that are in our heads, and realize that we're all one people, and we all need to love each other. We all need to pay special attention to each other's children and make sure that they're growing up to be happy, comfortable in who they are, and able to teach us a thing or two as they go through adolescence and young adulthood. Because sometimes the greatest lessons in life are the ones that we're taught uh, in our 30s and 40s, and think that we know it all, and then suddenly you get a smile on your face because a 5-year-old just taught you the greatest lesson that you've ever known. That's all I got for you today. God bless America, and vote Democratic.